Imagine a moment of scarcity. Thousands of people gathered, without enough provisions, hungry and tired. This scenario is not just a distant episode in history, it reflects humanity's challenges over time. The feeling of not having enough echoes within each of us. But what if there was an ancient secret, revealed in a miracle, capable of transforming scarcity into infinite abundance? Today we delve into the enigma of multiplication, guided by the miracles of Jesus, to decipher what these stories can teach us about prosperity and divine generosity. When we think about the multiplication of loaves and fishes, it's easy to get caught up in the literal narrative. Jesus fed thousands of people with very few resources. But beyond the obvious appearance of the miracle, there's a deeper invitation. What does it tell us about the flow of universal energy? What do we learn about the power of trusting in the unseen and acting generously, even when there seems to be so little to offer? In modern society, we are often programmed to believe in limitation. The concept of "there is not enough" permeates our decisions, relationships, and aspirations. However, the miracles of Jesus present a radically different perspective. They challenge us to abandon the mentality of scarcity and embrace faith in an unlimited source of divine provision. The scene is simple yet powerful. A young man gives all he has, 5 loaves and 2 fish, without hesitation. This seemingly small action triggers a transformation that transcends the laws of logic. It's not just about the bread that multiplies. It's about the courage to share, even when everything seems insufficient. This gesture reflects something profound: the faith that the act of giving is also the act of receiving. Now think about the relevance of this principle in your life. How many times have we hesitated to share our talents, time, or resources for fear they might run out? How many opportunities for personal and spiritual growth have been lost because we believe that it's not enough? Jesus, through this miracle, reminds us that true abundance is not in what we have, but in what we are willing to give. The miracles of multiplication also teach us that abundance is a state of consciousness. It's not something we need to seek externally. It's something that already exists and merely awaits our action to manifest. Jesus demonstrated this by asking people to get organized, bringing order to chaos. This seemingly mundane detail reveals an essential principle: the preparation to receive. Abundance needs space to manifest. Are we ready to welcome this flow into our lives? Furthermore, there is a collective aspect to the miracle. Jesus did not multiply the loaves for himself, but for a crowd. This invites us to reflect. Abundance only makes sense when shared. When we think of prosperity, we often limit the vision to personal achievements, but the teaching here goes beyond. True prosperity is inclusive. It expands to touch everyone around us. The teachings of Jesus often align with universal laws. Just as gravity is a force that governs matter, generosity and faith are forces that govern the flow of abundance. When we act with confidence and giving, we open the channels for the universe to work its magic. Could this miracle be a living metaphor for these universal laws? This introduction to the mystery of multiplication is not just an invitation to revisit biblical stories. It's a call to reflect on how we are relating to the energy of abundance today. Are we behaving like the young boy who gave his loaves and fishes, trusting in divine power? Or are we stuck in the fear of scarcity, holding tightly to what we believe to be little? As we progress on this journey, we will together unravel the teachings hidden in the miracles of Jesus. What seemed impossible on that day when thousands were fed can still transform our lives if we are willing to look beyond the surface. After all, perhaps the multiplication of the loaves is not just a story about a supernatural event, but a powerful metaphor to connect us to the infinite abundance of the universe. The multiplication of loaves and fishes is one of the most emblematic passages in the Gospels, recorded in all 4 biblical accounts. This unanimity highlights not only its historical importance, but also the profound impact it carries in spiritual and symbolic terms. However, to understand its essence, we need to look beyond the miraculous act and delve into the universal messages contained within it. It all starts with an exhausted, hungry crowd in search of something greater, a clear parallel to the human condition. The scenario is one of need. There wasn't enough food, and the obvious response would be to dismiss the crowd. But Jesus takes an unexpected path, challenging common logic. He transforms scarcity into abundance, showing that what seems impossible to human sight is fully achievable through faith and connection with the divine. This miracle begins in a simple way. A young man gives his small offering, 5 loaves and 2 fish. This action reflects the crucial role of human surrender and participation in the process of divine multiplication. Without this young man's willingness to share, the miracle might never have occurred. This seemingly small act teaches us that the first step towards abundance is generosity. No matter how limited what we have is, when we offer it with faith, it can be transformed into something extraordinary. The biblical text highlights that Jesus first gave thanks before performing the multiplication. This detail is no mere coincidence. Gratitude is a powerful spiritual energy that opens the doors to the flow of abundance. By giving thanks for what there is, even if it seems insufficient, Jesus shows that acknowledging what we already have is the key to receiving more. This principle is as valid today as it was in that time. Instead of focusing on what we lack, we can shift our perspective to value and recognize what is already in our hands. Another fundamental element is organization. Before distributing the food, Jesus instructs the crowd to sit in groups. This act of bringing order to chaos is not just practical, but symbolizes the necessary alignment for abundance to manifest. In our lives, the same principle applies. Disorder blocks the flow. Organizing our thoughts, emotions, and actions is an essential step to receive what we seek. It's also important to note that the miracle was collective. Jesus didn't multiply the food for an exclusive small group. He catered to everyone's needs. This gesture teaches us that true abundance is not selfish. It is not accumulated or retained, but shared to benefit as many people as possible. This challenges the materialistic view of prosperity and invites us to adopt a more inclusive and compassionate approach. The results of this act were plentiful. Not only was hunger satisfied, but 12 baskets full of pieces were left over. This surplus symbolizes the universe's overflowing generosity. God not only meets our needs but does so in a way that goes beyond enough, offering an abundance that overflows. This image is a powerful representation that the universe does not operate with limitation, but with an infinite capacity to provide. Behind the literal narrative, there is also profound symbolism. The bread, in Jewish tradition, was considered a symbol of divine presence and spiritual sustenance. The fish, often associated with water, represent fluidity and adaptability. Together, they illustrate the balance between the spiritual and the material, reminding us that true abundance comes when these two dimensions are in harmony. Multiplication is also a call to action. It's not just about passively waiting for a miracle, but actively participating in the process. Jesus didn't conjure food from nothing. He used what was available. This challenges us to look at our own lives and ask, what do we already have that can be multiplied? We often underestimate our talents, resources, and abilities, but when put into action with faith, they can generate surprising results. Finally, this miracle teaches us that scarcity is not a permanent condition, but a state that can be transformed. It challenges our limited vision and invites us to trust in a greater power, capable of supplying all needs. When contemplating this story, we are led to reflect on how we are dealing with our own perceptions of lack and abundance. Are we living in fear and retention, or with faith and generosity? Upon completing this expanded analysis of the multiplication of loaves and fishes, the message becomes clear. The miracle was not just about feeding hungry bodies, but about awakening hearts and minds to a reality of divine abundance. The key lies in sharing, organizing, and trusting, allowing the universe's energy to operate through us. When we think of abundance, we often associate it with individual accomplishment, accumulated by merit or luck. However, the miracles of Jesus present us with a radically different view. Generosity not only catalyzes abundance, but multiplies it in ways that go beyond what we can imagine. The multiplication of loaves and fishes is a clear example of this dynamic. In the act of giving, even in the face of apparent scarcity, infinite abundance is revealed. Let's return to the young man who gave up his loaves and fishes. What led someone to give up what little they had, especially in a crowd where hunger was a clear issue? This act of giving reflects more than just kindness. It's a gesture of trust. The young man believed that by offering what he had, something greater could happen. This trust is at the heart of transformative generosity. It's not based on calculations or guarantees, but on a profound faith in the power of sharing. This narrative echoes a universal spiritual principle. What we give to the world returns multiplied. This doesn't mean that we should give expecting something in return, but that the energy of generosity creates a natural flow of exchange. In modern terms, we can see this in human relationships, in business, and even in the way we dedicate ourselves to helping others. The more we share, the more we contribute to a larger system that inevitably benefits us. Generosity, however, is not just a matter of giving material goods. Often, abundance begins with seemingly simple acts, such as offering time, knowledge, or emotional support. In the context of Jesus' miracles, the message expands. The important thing is not how much you have, but your willingness to share what you own. This attitude creates room for something greater to manifest. Generosity is, in essence, the language of abundance. But why does the act of giving activate abundance? The secret lies in the energy behind generosity. When we give joyfully, we align our intentions with a higher vibration. This energy of giving resonates with the universe, which responds by amplifying what was sent. It's the opposite of the fear of scarcity, which restricts and blocks the flow. Generosity frees us from this cycle and opens us up to receiving more. The lesson here is clear. The fear of not having enough should not paralyze us. In fact, it's when we feel we have less that generosity becomes more powerful. The story of the widow in the Bible, who gave her last coins, reflects this truth. Her act of generosity, even amidst extreme need, was celebrated as an example of faith and abundance. This challenges us to question our own internal barriers. Are we only giving when it's comfortable, or are we open to giving even in difficult times? Furthermore, generosity has the power to inspire others. In the multiplication of the loaves, the young man's act of giving his food may have encouraged others to do the same. Perhaps in the crowd, other small portions were shared, creating a domino effect that contributed to the miracle. This reminds us that our acts of generosity not only transform us, but also generate collective impact. They ignite a flame of abundance in the world around us. Another important point is that generosity breaks the illusion of separation. When we share, we acknowledge that we are all connected and that our actions have the power to benefit the whole. This recognition is liberating. It takes us out of the cycle of anxiety and competition and leads us to a broader awareness, where prosperity is seen as something that grows when shared. This idea of multiplication is reflected in various spiritual traditions. In Hinduism, the concept of seva, selfless service, emphasizes that serving others is serving the divine. In Buddhism, the act of giving is an essential practice for cultivating merits and detachment. In Christianity, Jesus not only taught generosity, but lived it in its fullness. These traditions show that generosity is universally recognized as a bridge to abundance. However, practicing generosity is not always easy. We live in a culture that often values accumulation and individualism. We are encouraged to protect our resources and compete for more. This mindset distances us from the natural flow of abundance, trapping us in a mentality of scarcity. Generosity, on the other hand, is an act of resistance against this narrative. It connects us to what truly matters: communion, faith, and trust in the power of the divine. When reflecting on the multiplication of loaves and fishes, we are called to apply these principles in our own lives. What do we have that can be shared? Where can we make room for abundance to manifest? And, perhaps most importantly, are we willing to trust that by giving, we will be sustained by something greater? As we move on to the next part, we will explore how faith and trust are the fuels that make abundance possible. After all, generosity is only complete when it is accompanied by the certainty that the universe will always provide. When Jesus performed the multiplication of the loaves and fishes, he not only satisfied the hunger of a multitude, he demonstrated the immense power of faith and trust in the divine. The miracle didn't start with a large amount of resources, but with humble surrender and the certainty that a little could become a lot. This scene teaches us that abundance is born, above all, from the energy of faith. It is the invisible catalyst that transforms the impossible into reality. Faith is not a passive belief, but an active force. Jesus didn't feed the crowd alone. He involved the disciples and the young man who gave up his bread and fish. Each person there had to trust that the act of sharing would be enough. This collective gesture of surrender and trust symbolizes the essential role of faith in the process of creating abundance. Without it, the scarcity mindset prevails, blocking the flow of divine provision. In modern society, faith is often confused with hope or optimism. However, true faith goes beyond these concepts. It is the unwavering certainty that the unseen already exists and that the divine will always provide. When Jesus gives thanks for the loaves and fishes even before the multiplication, he is demonstrating this absolute trust. He doesn't wait to see the miracle happen to be grateful. He acts as if abundance is already assured. This principle of acting as if is a powerful practice. In psychology, it is often associated with the concept of visualization, where you imagine yourself living the reality you wish to create. In the spiritual realm, however, it goes deeper. It's an alliance with the divine, an acknowledgement that abundance is already available at an energy level and just needs to be manifested in the physical world. Jesus not only believed in this, he lived this truth in every action. But faith requires courage. Imagine the disciples' position at that moment. They were instructed to organize thousands of people and start distributing food that apparently wasn't even enough for a dozen. This act required a leap of trust. Often, we are called to do the same in our lives, to act even when conditions seem adverse. It is in this space between action and outcome where faith operates most powerfully. Trust in the divine also defies logic. The human mind, trained to measure and calculate, resists the idea that something unlimited can arise from the limited. However, the miracles of Jesus show that spiritual laws transcend physical laws. This doesn't mean ignoring reason, but rather opening oneself to the possibility that the universe operates in dimensions we do not fully understand yet. Modern science, for example, has been exploring concepts such as quantum physics, which suggests that observation can influence reality. Could faith not be a form of spiritual observation that shapes the world around us? Another important aspect of faith is patience. Abundance does not always manifest at the moment we desire. In the miracle of the loaves, the timing is carefully orchestrated. The crowd is organized, the action begins, and then the miracle occurs. This teaches us that trusting in the divine also means trusting in divine timing. Often delay is a preparation, an invitation to strengthen our trust and align our intentions with the universal flow. There is also an element of surrender in faith. Acknowledging that we do not have total control over circumstances is liberating. In the multiplication of the loaves, Jesus did not try to control every detail. He gave the little he had to the Father with gratitude and trust. This surrender is not resignation, but a conscious choice to release fear and embrace the certainty that the divine will always provide. This lesson is especially relevant during times of scarcity. When we face financial, emotional, or spiritual challenges, our faith is often tested. The natural tendency is to close off, save, protect what we have. But the miracle of the loaves and fishes challenges us to do the opposite: let go, trust, and act. Trust in the divine is not just an idea, but a daily practice that connects us to the infinite flow of abundance. Furthermore, faith strengthens our resilience. In hard times, it reminds us that what we see is not the whole reality. Just like the young boy who gave his bread and fish, we can trust that, even in seemingly impossible situations, there is a greater power working in our favor. This trust gives us the strength to carry on and keeps us aligned with the flow of prosperity. Finally, faith connects us to universal generosity. When we trust in the divine, we are freed from the fear of scarcity and become channels of abundance for others. This reminds us that we are part of something bigger, a web of interconnection, where our actions of trust and giving reverberate in waves of transformation. As we move forward to the next part, we will explore the symbolism of miracles and how they reflect powerful metaphors for the human spirit. The miracles of Jesus, including the multiplication of loaves and fishes, transcend their literal impact. They carry deep symbolism, serving as powerful metaphors that illuminate the human spirit and reveal universal truths. Beyond feeding a hungry crowd, these events convey spiritual messages that remain relevant in our journey of evolution and quest for abundance. In the multiplication of loaves, the bread is not just physical food, it symbolizes spiritual sustenance. In Jewish tradition, bread is a central element that represents divine provision, the manna that fell from heaven to feed the Israelites in the desert. When Jesus multiplies the loaves, he is demonstrating that humanity's true hunger is not just physical, but spiritual. The act of sharing bread invites us to reflect on how we are nourishing our souls and the souls of those around us. Fish, on the other hand, carry their own symbolism. In early Christianity, the fish became a symbol of faith and belonging to the Christian community. Furthermore, fish inhabit the waters, which often represent the emotional and spiritual flow. Multiplying fish can be interpreted as an invitation to delve deeper into our emotions and the realm of the spirit, trusting that there is a hidden abundance in the depths of life. Another symbolic layer of the miracle lies in the multiplication itself. This act defies the laws of the material world and points to a higher spiritual principle: the idea that the universe is governed by laws of expansion and growth. Just as a seed, which seems small and insignificant, can transform into a lush tree, the little we have at hand can be infinitely multiplied when combined with faith, intention, and action. The crowd also plays a symbolic role. They represent humanity in its quest for something greater, a purpose, a divine connection, a truth that transcends the limitations of the physical world. When Jesus organizes this crowd and distributes the food, he not only meets their immediate needs, but also creates an experience of unity and order. This aspect of the miracle reminds us that abundance is not just individual, it is collective. We are all part of a larger whole, and the well-being of each person is intrinsically linked to the well-being of the group. There is also a deep symbolism in the gratitude shown by Jesus. Before performing the miracle, he gives thanks for the available bread and fish, showing that gratitude is the starting point for the manifestation of abundance. This attitude teaches us that when we recognize and value what we have, no matter how small it may seem, we pave the way to receive more. Gratitude is not just a spiritual practice, It is a powerful tool that transforms our perspective and aligns us with the creative forces of the universe. Another important symbolic aspect lies in the organization before the miracle. Jesus instructs the crowd to sit in groups. This practical detail reflects a larger spiritual principle. Order precedes abundance. In order for the divine flow to manifest, it is necessary to create space and structure. In our lives, this could mean organizing our thoughts, emotions, and even our physical environments. This preparation aligns us with the universal flow and makes us receptive to abundance. The leftover from the 12 baskets full of bread pieces after the miracle is also rich in symbolism. The number 12, often associated with the 12 tribes of Israel and the 12 apostles, points to the idea of completeness and fullness. These overflowing baskets symbolize the infinite generosity of the universe, which not only meets our needs, but goes beyond, overflowing in abundance. They remind us that divine abundance is never limited or scarce. It is always present, waiting to be accessed. More profoundly, the miracle also reflects inner transformation. Just as the loaves and fishes were multiplied, we are invited to look at our own lives and realize how our abilities and resources can be transformed. Even the things we consider small or insufficient carry the potential to create impact when put into action with faith and intention. This transformation is not just external, it is an internal process that aligns us with our greater purpose. Finally, the act of feeding the crowd symbolizes service and unconditional love. Jesus doesn't select who will receive the food. He distributes it to everyone, regardless of their status or merit. This teaches us that true abundance is rooted in compassion and sharing. When we serve others with an open heart, we connect with the universal energy and become part of the infinite flow of prosperity. The symbolism of the miracle of multiplication is a powerful reminder that abundance is not just about having more, but about being more connected, more compassionate, more confident in divine provision. As we move forward, we will explore how these symbolic principles can be applied practically in our lives today, helping us overcome challenges and live in alignment with the energy of abundance. The miracles of Jesus, despite having occurred over 2,000 years ago, carry timeless lessons that continue to resonate in the challenges of the contemporary world. The multiplication of the loaves and fishes in particular transcends its historical context, offering practical principles that can be applied to our lives to overcome the mentality of scarcity and pave the way for a conscious and compassionate abundance. The first significant teaching lies in the power to transform little into much. We live in an era where scarcity often dominates our view. Lack of time, money, opportunities, or even emotional energy. However, just as Jesus took 5 loaves and 2 fishes and transformed them to meet a massive need, we can use what we already have, no matter how small it may seem, as a starting point for abundance. Instead of focusing on what is missing, the challenge is to redirect our attention to what is at our disposal and ask, how can I maximize this? This approach requires a shift in mindset. In the modern world, we are bombarded with messages that reinforce the idea of competition and limitation. Advertising and consumerism often tell us that we are never enough or do not have enough. Jesus' teachings challenge this narrative, reminding us that true abundance comes from a state of trust and gratitude. Practicing gratitude daily is a powerful way to apply this principle. Recognizing the value of what we already have creates a transformative effect that can expand to all areas of our lives. Another essential aspect is the practice of generosity. In the miracle, a young man's willingness to give what he had became the catalyst for multiplication. In today's world, generosity is often seen as a luxury, something we can only practice when there is excess. However, the teachings of Jesus show that generosity, even in times of apparent scarcity, creates an energetic flow that attracts more. This doesn't only mean giving money. We can be generous with our time, attention, and support to others. Small gestures of kindness have the power to create waves of transformation. Furthermore, organization is a principle often overlooked, but vital for the manifestation of abundance. In the miracle, Jesus first asked people to sit in groups before distributing the food. This act of organization reflects the need to create order in our lives to allow the flow of abundance to manifest. In the contemporary context, this could mean setting clear goals, creating systems to manage our finances, or simply organizing our physical space. External order often reflects and influences our internal clarity. The idea of trusting in the unseen is also essential. Often we are quick to reject opportunities or ideas because we can't clearly see the end result. The miracle reminds us that faith is a powerful tool to overcome this blockage. Trusting in something bigger than ourselves, whether it's God, the universe, or the power of intention, allows us to act even when the path is not fully defined. In the modern world, this trust can be translated into actions like starting a project with limited resources, taking a calculated risk, or simply believing in our potential, even in the face of uncertainties. Another practical teaching is the impact of collective work. The abundance in the miracle wasn't just for one person or a small group, it was shared by the entire crowd. This reflects the importance of cultivating communities and partnerships in our pursuit of prosperity. In the modern world, this lesson encourages us to collaborate, share resources, and build support networks. When we work together, we multiply our impact and create an environment where abundance can flow to everyone. The message of the leftover 12 full baskets is also powerful in its practical application. It reminds us that divine abundance not only meets our immediate needs, but often exceeds our expectations. However, for this to happen, we need to be open to receive. In our lives, this could mean letting go of limiting beliefs about worthiness or the idea that we have to fight for every good thing that happens. When we align with the energy of abundance, it flows in unexpected ways. Finally, the teachings of the miracle challenge us to rethink what prosperity means. In a society that often measures success by material accumulation, the multiplication of the loaves invites us to seek a more balanced prosperity, which includes connection, purpose, and contribution. True abundance is not an individual accumulation, but something that benefits the collective. When we help others to prosper, we create a continuous cycle of abundance that uplifts us all. When applying these principles in today's world, we begin to realize that the energy of abundance is always available to us. The key is in aligning our thoughts, actions, and intentions with the spiritual principles demonstrated by Jesus. With gratitude, generosity, and faith, we can transform our lives and also make a positive impact on the world around us. The miracle of the multiplication of loaves and fishes highlights something deeply transformative: the power of universal sharing. This principle, exemplified by Jesus, transcends physical giving and reflects an intrinsic connection between giving and receiving. The act of sharing is not just a gesture of kindness. It becomes the catalyst for an unlimited flow of abundance, both material and spiritual. When Jesus took the few loaves and fishes and blessed them, he did not keep them for himself or for a small group. He shared with everyone, without distinctions or conditions. This symbolizes a universal truth: sharing multiplies. This gesture challenges us to rethink the way we handle our own resources, whether they are time, money, or skills. By holding on to something out of fear of losing it, we block the natural flow of energy. On the other hand, by giving freely, we open up space for the universe to give back to us in unexpected ways. This principle of universal sharing is not just a spiritual ideal. It also has practical foundations. In communities where resources are shared, prosperity tends to grow for everyone. Economists and sociologists acknowledge that networks of mutual support create stability and opportunities. This concept also applies at an individual level. When we share our ideas, skills, or even a simple smile, we create connections that generate a positive impact, often returning to us in ways we cannot predict. The act of sharing also challenges the scarcity mindset that dominates both modern society and human hearts. This mindset makes us believe that by giving something, we will have less. However, the miracle of the loaves shows the opposite. Sharing does not reduce, it multiplies. This teaching is particularly relevant in a world where inequalities are increasingly evident. Jesus invites us to trust that, by giving the little we have, we contribute to a cycle of abundance that benefits everyone. Another important aspect of sharing is the impact it has on our sense of purpose. When we share, we connect to something larger than ourselves. We become part of a flow of energy that transcends selfishness and aligns us with collective well-being. This sense of purpose is deeply gratifying and gives us a greater reason to thrive. After all, when we know that our achievements can benefit others, our motivation transforms into a powerful force. The miracle also teaches us that sharing does not depend on great wealth or abundant resources. The young man who gave his loaves and fish was not rich. He gave what he had, without hesitation. This simple act reminds us that everyone has something to offer. Often we underestimate the impact of our gestures, thinking they are too small to make a difference. However, the miracle proves that a little, when shared with intention and faith, can be transformed into something extraordinary. Furthermore, sharing creates a ripple effect. When we give something, we inspire others to do the same. In the biblical account, there is no indication that the crowd was fighting for food. On the contrary, there is a sense of order and cooperation, suggesting that the act of sharing was contagious. In the contemporary world, this effect is also visible. Social movements and community projects often start with a single person or group sharing what they have, thus encouraging others to join in. The power of sharing is also intrinsically linked to gratitude. When we acknowledge what we have and share it, we affirm our trust that there will always be more. This creates a positive cycle where gratitude fuels generosity, which in turn multiplies abundance. In contrast, the fear of scarcity disconnects us from this energy, leading to retention and stagnation. Jesus also demonstrates through the miracle that sharing is an act of faith. By blessing the loaves and fishes, he trusts that the little will be enough and more than enough. This example challenges us to do the same in our lives, to share even when we are not sure how things will unfold. This trust connects us to the divine flow, where miracles become possible. In the modern world, applying the principle of universal sharing can seem challenging amidst individualism and competition. However, small acts of sharing can have a significant impact. Donating clothes we no longer use, sharing knowledge, or supporting local projects are practical ways of putting this teaching into action. It's not just about charity, it's a way of creating a network of positive energy that extends beyond ourselves. Finally, universal sharing reminds us that abundance is not an individual privilege, but a collective right. By embracing this vision, we align ourselves with the teachings of Jesus and become channels for the divine energy to flow into the world. Sharing, therefore, is not just an action, it is a statement of faith in the infinite generosity of the universe. We have reached the climax of this journey, how to align our lives with the energy of abundance that permeates the universe. The miracles of Jesus, especially the multiplication of the loaves and fishes, have taught us that abundance is not just a supernatural event, but a state of consciousness, accessible to all who choose to live with faith, gratitude, and generosity. Now the question is, how do we apply these teachings to transform our everyday reality? The first step towards this alignment is the reprogramming of the mindset. The scarcity mindset, which often dominates our lives, is a reflection of fear. Fear of not having enough, of losing, or of being left behind. Jesus invites us to let go of this fear and trust in the unlimited power of the divine. Replacing thoughts of lack with affirmations of abundance, such as "I am enough," and the universe always provides, is a powerful practice to transform our perspective and pave the way for new possibilities. Gratitude is the key that unlocks this alignment. Just as Jesus gave thanks before the multiplication of the loaves, we are called to recognize and appreciate what we already have, no matter how small it may seem. When we cultivate gratitude daily, we create an energy field that attracts more of what we appreciate. The practice can be as simple as writing down 3 things we are grateful for each day, or expressing our appreciation to the people around us. Gratitude is a constant reminder that we already live in abundance. Another essential element is active faith. Faith is not a passive wait for a miracle, but a force that drives us to act even in the face of uncertainties. In the miracle of the loaves, the multiplication only happened because the young man gave what little he had. In our lives, this means taking the first step, whether it's starting a project, offering our talents, or seeking creative solutions, trusting that the next step will be revealed along the way. Faith is the antidote to the paralysis of fear. Generosity, as we've learned, is one of the core principles of abundance. By sharing what we have, we break the cycle of retention and activate the universal flow. However, to practice generosity authentically, it's important to do it with joy and detachment, without expectations of return. Small gestures such as offering time to those in need or sharing resources with someone in need have the power to multiply not only what we give, but also the positive energy in our lives. Organization is another important step. In the miracle, Jesus brought order to the crowd before initiating the process of multiplication. This detail teaches us that abundance thrives where there is clarity and structure. In our lives, this could mean creating a financial plan, organizing our goals, or simply arranging our physical space. Organization makes us receptive to abundance, as it creates fertile ground for it to manifest. It is equally essential to understand that abundance is not just material. Although Jesus' miracles involve physical provisions, they also point to spiritual and emotional nourishment. True abundance is a balance between these dimensions. Cultivating healthy relationships, investing in personal growth, and dedicating time to spiritual connection are ways to live an abundant life, even amidst external challenges. Another fundamental aspect is collective sharing. The miracle of the loaves was not performed for a select group. It benefited everyone. This teaches us that abundance grows when it is shared. In modern times, this can be translated into collaborating with others, supporting community initiatives, or simply spreading knowledge and good deeds. By connecting with the collective, we expand our impact and create a cycle of prosperity that benefits everyone. Finally, the deepest teaching is that abundance is an expression of divine love. The miracle of the loaves' multiplication is, above all, an act of compassion. Jesus fed the crowd not because they deserved it, but because he loved them. This lesson invites us to act with the same spirit. When our actions are guided by love, for ourselves, for others, and for the divine, we become channels for the universal energy to flow. When we align ourselves with the energy of abundance, we recognize that it is not something to be conquered or retained. It is a state of being, a constant dance between giving and receiving, between faith and action, between gratitude and generosity. The miracles of Jesus are not just stories to be admired. They are invitations to live in a more conscious and connected way. May this alignment inspire us to transform our perception, our actions, and above all, our lives. After all, true abundance begins in the heart and expands to touch everything around us. Mind Unfettered, now it's your turn. I want to know, what do you have in your hands today that you believe can multiply? Share in the comments your vision or your experience on how generosity, faith, or sharing has already brought abundance to your life. Your story can inspire our entire community to manifest a reality of prosperity together. Remember, when we share, we create something much larger than we are individually. Let's multiply this energy in the comments. And don't stop here. The next step in this spiritual journey is already on your screen. In the next video, we will explore one of the most fascinating topics you will see today. The eye of God revealed, the hidden spiritual vision Jesus kept from the world. Discover the deep secrets of this hidden vision and how it can transform the way you perceive your life and the world. Click now to continue this path of revelation and alignment with the divine. Until then, remember, true abundance lies within your essence.